Howdy folks, I'm Grotto Goblin of the Goblin's Grotto, and today I just wanted to do a quick little update regarding some campaigns that we've covered on the channel, but specifically one campaign. The Forged, a Massive Miniature Collection campaign. So, I say in all of my videos, Kickstarter is not a store, it's an investment. And, to various links, I do go into the fact that, sometimes those investments, they might take a while or they might not turn out and all that. This is one of those cases where it's just complicated. And it's one of those things where, from a purely, everyday person perspective who, is just trying to get some minis and stuff like that, you could look at, the background for these companies and determine, like, oh, well, they have a track record, reputable, and more than likely, this is a worthwhile investment that's gonna deliver. And we've seen campaigns where that has totally happened. And we've also seen campaigns where there have been massive delays. Just to step aside from Forge, the Reaper Kickstarters, Bones 5 was heavily delayed, in large part because of, certain world events. And as a consequence, even Bone 6 has been kind of on a diminished, conveyor belt. Like, the power-ups and things are coming out at a different rate than the last campaign, and the delivery process, though still on track, is just a kind of a different way of doing things than with Bones 5. By the way, if you have been following Bones 6, there's not really been any updates that's worth making a whole video over. They've just, really the only big news there is that they have gone through and specified what every item is going to be made of, and that the latest power-up is extra pillars from the Lost Tombs of Akir expansion, which is nice to see. Really good for terrain, but they're just pillars. They'll $10 for this many pillars. It's nice. And other than that, they've just kind of been putting out little cutaways to various miniatures that they have in the lines, that some of them are painted. These are really well done. But yeah, overall, not too much to say for Bones 5. Or Bones 6, sorry. So for Forged, or I should say Broken Anvil. Broken Anvil has a track record. They are a company that's been around for a while. Patreons, there's sort of social media that they have. They have been making STL miniatures and physical miniatures that people have, that you buy for a while. They're one of the most prolific big STL file companies around. Like, they have a long history. So it's totally reasonable to think, well, these folks, they know how to do business, and, this is a campaign like any other. They have had other campaign launches, crowdfunding campaigns, that is, in the past, and, things have gone smoothly. So why am I talking about it in this way now? Because it really sounds like I'm leading up to I kind of am. And it's unfortunate. This is not a hit piece against Broken Anvil Miniatures or Forged. It's more just these things happen, and it's unfortunate. So if you are Googling Broken Anvil Miniatures now, you can see it doesn't take long before you see these results come up. For those just listening, that'd be layoffs, parent company, layoffs Reddit. Yes, so Broken Anvil Miniatures, as they have talked about in some of their most recent updates on Kickstarter, which they've actually been pretty active. In general, most Kickstarters don't update more than like 20 updates unless they have a very scheduled, regimented update schedule. So most campaigns don't update nearly as much as this one did. So I will say, like, it might not seem like they were the most talkative or the most transparent in all cases, but they definitely were giving updates higher than most campaigns. And, you know, I have to say, this is not at all a comment on the art, the people who are making art for Forge, or the people who are actually, you know, behind the production of the minis. This seems like a corporate issue that has occurred. So let's get into it. To make a long story short, if we go down far enough, delayed. Yeah, so back in July 8th, they announced, and it was kind of, the lead up was already kind of occurring to this, but they've announced that the Forged campaign is going to be delayed. And, you know, this happens. It happens in a lot of campaigns. It happened with Bones 5 to a significant degree. I'm used to Kickstarter delays. You know, at this point, I backed enough campaigns that when I comment, I have that little super backer thing. Like, I'm familiar with how Kickstarter campaigns work. Unfortunately, with this specific one, it's a little more complicated than just, you know, due to circumstances beyond our control with shipping industry stuff. Like, we've had to take a little bit more time, or I've had campaigns. I backed there was a superhero miniature campaign where the card art just wasn't up to the person's liking yet, so they spent a little more time to tweak it, and I've gotten it, and it all looks fantastic. And, you know, this is the ideal scenario. If there's a delay, it's to make something better, or, you know, make delivery a little more possible. So, but with this, it is a lot more complicated and a lot more corporate. And I'm not a corporation person. I'm not like a, ooh, go capitalism, you know, type of individual. So my perspective on this is pretty much like, yeah, this is the grimy side of things. And it does sound like, you know, I don't want to get the impression that I'm just here to dump on Broken Anvil Miniatures, because, to be quite honest, reading through all this stuff, it's not really, it would be unfair to say it's not Broken Anvil Miniatures' fault or anything like that, especially because it's a whole company full of people. It's really not everyone in the company's, you know, to blame for anything, but it does sound like they have been screwed over a little bit. And, you know, some other poor decisions have been made that have just kind of resulted in a messy situation. So, if you've been reading this, basically, the summary for this update, and, you know, some of the previous ones where they've touched on this, is that they were being acquired by another company. And then that business deal fell through, but the negotiations were so far along that there wasn't enough planning and budget to cover the possibility that they would drop the negotiation. So basically, it was one of those, like, this is a sure deal. You're good, just keep doing what you're doing and we'll take over. And then what happened is this other company, which they did not name, probably, again, because this is a very complicated legal matter, and if you did name them, probably it would be a court case, and I don't think they, I don't even say I don't think. I know they can't afford, Broken Anvil Miniatures cannot afford to deal with that, so they did not name the company. But, you know, it seems like that company dropped out at a very inconvenient time, which threw all of everything Broken Anvil Miniatures was doing, and just it really screwed up everything in terms of the budget and the plan and stuff like that. And I've seen this happen with other campaigns. And to be fair, every campaign that I have followed, even if I wasn't actually a backer and I just kind of looked into it after, the dust had settled, deliveries still happened with those campaigns. It may have just been for a really long time after. You can see in this they're mentioning that 2024 is going to be the new timeline for delivery for this. But it really, there's a lot that has happened behind the scenes. There's plenty of good folks that work or worked at Broken Anvil Miniatures because there was like a round of layoffs. If you've been reading any of this, sorry, I've been kind of going up and down. It really seems like they were put in a very bad business decision, in a large part because of this acquisition, but it would be unfair to say that it wasn't at least partially on the folks running them to appropriately, kind of plan, because it's not all on this potential buyer or any other potential buyer. Like it is, you got to plan at least a little bit. So, Broken Anvil Miniatures, they are, as I said earlier, they have a track record. They got this Rivenstone thing, BrokenAnvilMiniatures.com, all gravy games, all that kind of stuff. But they've created some projects on here. They have the Forge. There's Rivenstone that was just mentioned. And then here's some other ones from back in the day, of campaigns that they have made. You can see some miniatures that were used in previous campaigns kind of making their way, cycling back up. They even made a pink Kickstarter. And these two ones here are kind of important because apparently, Rivenstone, I did not know too much about it until all this happened, and I hadn't even really heard the name much, except just when I was looking into them, being like, oh, yeah, they seem like they know what they're doing. The budgeting has apparently been a matter where, because of how this deal fell apart, they're putting all their resources into Rivenstone, which means some are being taken away from these campaigns. Now, I can understand that decision from just like a practical perspective because, it's, if you only have so many, you only have so many resources to work with, and that this one thing is gotta be done to get more resources, then yeah, you gotta put stuff towards that thing. However, the knock-on effect is that both of these are going to be delayed, and these aren't. It's not looking all good. The layoffs, they're probably the thing that hit people the most. Like, we're in a time in history right now where that's very common in a lot of industries, where corporations are just laying people off to save money. And this is a small business. It's not a huge business. It's not like so small that it only operates out of one little coffee shop somewhere. It is it is a business, but it's still a small business, and they laid off a lot of people to save some money. And I can understand from just a purely I guess, accounting perspective, how that works, it makes sense, and it was a tough situation. It's a tough situation when a negotiation falls out like that. At the same time, it doesn't make it any less shitty if you're one of the people that got laid off. Um, it's very possible the alternative would have been like pay cuts and stuff like that, but ultimately, at the end of the day, like, there are people who don't have jobs now, and that has just been a theme throughout essentially the entire job market since about 2019. So this is just really another knock-on effect of the same issues that have been happening for the past couple of years, because things aren't over. There's a lot of people who like to say that certain things are over, but they're not. And if you're wondering why I'm not just naming things, because of YouTube, they suppress a couple of topics if you mention them. So I am still a little optimistic when it comes to this, because the fact of the matter is, almost everything that is made for this campaign already has the digital assets, and they already have some like molds for this kind of stuff. It's really just like getting other projects done and then getting back to this. And my optimism is not related at all to thinking that this is going to deliver on time. I'm the optimistic when you know that it's not gonna deliver on time, and you've kind of accepted that, and you're like, well, I still think it'll probably come to me eventually, and I'll just be pleasantly surprised when it happens, and just not dwell on it when or if it doesn't. So I feel a little I feel disappointed and kind of upset that I covered this, not because, there was no indication that I had that this would not be as successful and deliver on time as any other campaign. There's plenty of campaigns that I've backed that are honestly in the same time frame. They just haven't had as much stuff going on behind the scenes that have hampered things. There's campaigns that I've been waiting around for a very, very long time, especially like video games. I backed Prehistoric Kingdom back in the day. That thing's still in early access, technically. It's had its release, but it's still being developed. Some projects, they just take a long time, and that's fine. It's just the way this one kind of experienced it kind of rise and fall so quickly. It's disappointing to see. There's not really a single individual that we can point to and be like, it's all your fault or anything like that. This is just kind of a lesson on reinforcing the idea that, Kickstarter is not a store. It is an investment platform, and not every investment works out. Or, I guess more accurately for this case, not every investment delivers as expected. We may see this stuff in 2024, may not. At the current stage, it doesn't sound like the whole thing is dissolving, and then it's just you'll never see these people ever again or anything like that. They still have a business to fall back on. It just seems like it's gonna be a minute before you see any of these. And when I backed this, I did back for enough miniatures that I have like a good variety of things from this campaign. And I fully expected to not see a single one of them for like a year or more. So from that perspective, I haven't had any gut punches or anything like that from this. With these campaigns, unless it's something that I know is going to deliver in a month or two, I basically assume I throw my money at these things. And I'm like, well, if I see these things, that'd be great. hopefully one day I see them. Yeah, it really is just kind of an investment. But yeah, I am sorry for those who we really were expecting or hoping to see these by a specific time, because if you build a campaign around these sort of things, it would be unfortunate to see once it's delayed. So yeah, sorry for the rambly video. I'm not a YouTuber, but I hope to make some more videos as things go on. I'm not really going to edit this much just because it's such raw thought regarding the subject that I've had a lot of time to think about, but I'm not reading from a script or anything. So, yeah, if you want to see any more of this content, hopefully I don't have to make more of this content, but if you want to see any more content coming Kickstarters, miniature painting, I've been thinking about some other things to upload to YouTube that have nothing to do with either of those, and whether or not it should be on a separate channel or this one. Like when it comes to video gaming, or kind of reviewing of like movies and TV, stuff like that. Because I've always wanted to make those videos, but it's not really the original vibe of what I've uploaded here. Anyway, if you want to support the channel, share any thoughts on this or anything else, liking, commenting, subscribing, it does a lot. You can also support me on some other platforms like Twitter and Coffee, ko-fi. There's going to be links in the description. So, yeah. That's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. I'm not really going to do the usual outro because of the subject. So, yeah. Take care. Have a good one.